Hey everyone, me Kevin here. The clips you're about to see were filmed on March 1st, which is really when Tesla just kind of started slightly going down and Bitcoin was getting ready to hit all-time highs. Take a listen to some of these warnings from Ross Gerber. He gives us an idea about what we should have been paying attention to before they both declined, but more importantly, what his projections are for the future. And keep in mind, this is a roller coaster, so go to metkevin.com/lemonade and get yourself life insurance, homeowners insurance, and renters insurance, and even pet insurance, because anytime you go on a roller coaster, you want to make sure you're insured. Roll the clip.
So tell me, I mean, you're pretty vocal on Twitter. I mean, I've pulled up some favorite tweets of yours, and I'll bring up some of these. But I want to start with some of the more recent drama that's going on. I want to start with your thoughts on Tesla and Bitcoin. Can you speak to maybe both of these a little bit? Maybe start with Bitcoin. Let's go down that rabbit hole a little bit, and then we'll talk Tesla and integrating this all.
So I want to preface that there's been a lot of speculation lately in the stock market and in digital assets like Bitcoin, and a lot of people in the last 6-8 months have gotten into investing. They've been at home, they have extra capital, and they're investing and they're learning. So I like to preface everything is that these are high risk investments and there's high return with these investments. But we've seen a lot of the good side of that and not as much of the bad side of it lately. So as much as I'm bullish on Tesla and Bitcoin long term, these are assets that are highly risky. And it's really not appropriate for a lot of people who don't have diversified portfolios to just dive into high risk assets. So I just want to preface it because I'm really bullish on these investments, but I don't think that people should just like put all their money in Tesla and Bitcoin. Now, it might work and you'd be super rich, but you also will go through horrendous periods of time of depression as these assets move, down sometimes too. So I think they're both incredibly disruptive, innovative technologies. One is a company and one is a system, let's say a monetary system. And so, they're very different to talk about. Tesla is how I would say reordering the energy system and transportation systems in the world to electric vehicles from gas. Its founder, Elon Musk, is the genius of our time. He's the visionary of our time. He will bring us to Mars. He will transform the auto industry and the energy industry to a cleaner future. So investing in Tesla, to me, makes a lot more sense than investing in Bitcoin in the sense of as an investment. Why? Because you own part of a company, and that company over the next 10 years should produce tremendous amount of revenue and profits and is cornering what I consider one of the most substantial, important markets in the markets. Okay. So you have energy and you have transportation, and here's a company that's actually really good at both. So, that's huge. That's huge. Now, Bitcoin, on the other hand, is to me the internet of money. So it's digital money, and they built an ecosystem around this, and they've created a inflatable currency. In other words, you can't print more Bitcoin. There's a finite amount of them. And so the way that they built Bitcoin, in that governments don't control it, it's decentralized, it's global, and allows individuals to either transact business with each other or to buy goods and services, which it's not that efficient for, is genius. And it was created post-financial crisis because what we learned was that governments and banks aren't responsible with our money and they can lose it all. And that's what happened in the financial crisis. And so Bitcoin was a byproduct of the financial crisis. And so to me, it's a hedge against government. That's what Bitcoin thrives around. It thrives around uncertainty. Wow. It thrives around governmental failure and monetary irresponsibility. And we got all of it. We just got all of it. So, so Bitcoin is coming in its own, It's like Bitcoin's like the happiest coin of all time because everything that Bitcoin was created for is happening.
So really, you see political instability in addition to the money printing, like this $1.9 trillion stimulus package. We see both of these as big catalysts, or you see both of these as big catalysts for Bitcoin to just continue a potential rally. We know it's volatile, but you think that's actually what's propping up Bitcoin.
Well, it's the fundamental underpinning of Bitcoin, but what's actually driving Bitcoin are institutions like myself. So we are going to be. I am trying to launch our Bitcoin program in 2 weeks. Just yelling at my partner about them wasting time so that we can get this done. Because the demand for digital currencies is enormous, and institutions haven't been able to offer that to their clients in the past. So what we're seeing behind the scenes that the public doesn't see is firms like mine are lining up at the door to figure out how to do this. Most aren't brave enough like me to just go do it. And so they're waiting for people like me to do it before they do it. So when the SEC says, Ross, what are you doing? And I have a whole plan and system because I've done this before, they'll be like, oh, this is great. This is how it should be done. So we're trying to basically create the format for investment firms to sell digital assets in the future to their clients. So we're working on that really hard right now to launch this month, hopefully in 2 weeks, which is maybe a miracle, because we believe very much so that clients should have a certain diversification into digital assets. And we think that institutions will be doing this, just like Tesla bought Bitcoin and Squares bought Bitcoin and other companies will buy Bitcoin. We are seeing in the investment side too, whether it's BlackRock and Fidelity, and we're seeing it from the RIA side. I can't name other ones that are behind us that are trying to launch their programs, but one firm in particular is huge, way bigger than us even. And we can move faster, fortunately. But the money that will flow towards Bitcoin, the demand for it from institutional investors will be very large. And God willing, they do an ETF. It doubles, triples.
That's the limit then. It doubles or triples. Wow. Okay. So you're thinking, if there's an ETF, you're 100, 150K a coin easy, huh?
Oh, dude. See, the whole thing is you can't buy coin and scale easily,
right.
Like for me to like they figured out how to buy $1 billion of Bitcoin finally, through like Coinbase or Gemini. We're using Gemini. But they kind of have the most Bitcoin, like Coinbase and Gemini, I think each have like 10% of Bitcoin. That's not a real stat. I think they have something like that in their custodian. So you've got the two pillars of Bitcoin, and that's really the only places you can trade in size. So like most institutions, big institutions want to buy like 500 million or 100 million, good luck with that. It's a lot of effort. I'm not even sure how Tesla bought their Bitcoin. So this is what's changing. And as institutions get in and bigger purchases are made, the price will move higher. The total market cap is about $1 trillion for Bitcoin, maybe less, but when you think about the monetary base of capital out there, just cash in banks is trillions and trillions sitting in the bank right now. Yeah. Right now. Sure. I don't know the exact number, but I know it's like 5 trillion or something like this. It's some crazy number, okay, sitting in the bank. So if just part of that money was saying, we're tired of actually losing money to inflation and moves to Bitcoin, Goodbye.
Wow. Yeah, because it seems like a lot of corporations today, one of the common ways I think corporations and institutions invest in Bitcoin is through the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. But it seems like you're paying a premium there. Sometimes you're paying a substantial premium, as high as 30, 40% sometimes. At the same time, you've got your corporations that are essentially keeping their cash either as cash or as treasuries, which are losing value. Why not put it into something like Bitcoin? That's what you're thinking. That's almost inevitable. Is what you're
argument
saying.
That was made, I'm really close with all the Tesla people. We're part of a club, I guess you could say, of Tesla investors who have weathered the ups and downs together. And one of the super smart guys I deal with who's a Tesla investor, we discussed this. So if a corporate treasury is going to buy Bitcoin, it's not cash. Okay, like you own cash in a bond because it's liquid. I can use it for my company when I need it. You're a real estate guy. You get it. You got all these buildings. You got to have a certain amount of cash, right? Like something happens, you just got to have cash. So if I put that into Bitcoin, it might not be the right day to sell the Bitcoin. The day the building needs to be redone or whatever. And so it's like, it's part of the investment portfolio of a corporation, and the profile from a risk perspective is high. So I would say that most corporations, it's not the smartest thing for them to do, because they need their capital to support the company. You know, like you want something safe. But if you have this excess capital, your Google, your Apple, your Microsoft, your Berkshire Hathaway, 134 billion in cash, right? Warren Buffett can't think of anything to do with it. Anything. Yeah. Now, think about the inefficiency if that's losing 2% to inflation, okay? And then you have taxes and whatever. So when you figure out he earns 1 or 2% on the cash, then he has taxes and inflation, he's losing 1 to 2%. So he's losing billions holding cash, where he could take 5% of that, let's say $5 billion or $7 billion, buy Bitcoin as an investment. And yeah, it's risky, but he could make 5 or 10x holding cash or new dollars or whatever you want to call Bitcoin. So I think it's for a more adventuresome company, but certainly makes a lot of sense to me. I think for Tesla, you know, Elon comes from PayPal, so I think he just gets it.
Got it. Yeah, from maybe that engineer kind of background. Is it something where, is Bitcoin risky, or is it just volatile, or is there maybe like, do those get mixed together sometimes? Right. Like, is there really a risk that Bitcoin's going to go to zero, or is it just like, hey, it fluctuates, but in the long run, this is here to stay? I mean, is Bitcoin going to go away?
Well, when I started with Bitcoin, it was about 6 or 7 years ago, and it was a $250 a Bitcoin. Okay. And I thought for sure when I bought my first Bitcoin then that it would go away. Like it would just be stolen from me. Like I didn't believe in Satoshi. I still don't believe in any of that, you know? So like when they told me the story, and I work with some guys who are now very, very wealthy, you know, like, and they convinced me to try it. I don't think they convinced me in Bitcoin. Now it's 6 years later and it's still here. And the Chinese have tried to kill it, and the Americans have tried to regulate it, and every government has had their issues with it. It's still here. And all these characters that are behind Bitcoin and all these wacky criminals and this and that, they're all still here. And so now Bitcoin's at, let's say, 50,000, okay, 7 years later, and I'm pretty sold it's going to be here, you know? Like I'm pretty sold it's going to be here. Like if they haven't killed it from $250 when it was a bunch of criminals to today with institutions buying it and it's worth 50,000, right? I don't think zero is the outcome most likely. Okay? Like I just don't. Now, could Bitcoin go down to 10,000 again? For sure. For sure. So I think I've owned Bitcoin through all these ups and downs. You know, people have this term diamond hands. You know, they go, oh, do you have diamond hands or do you have paper hands? You know, and I go, dude, you don't get rich with paper hands, you know, like you just, you don't, you know,